Hey, how's it going? Today we're going to learn about muscles, the muscles of the human body. There's like 650 of them, but we're not going to learn all of them. We're just going to get some of the highlights, the big boys as it were. And before we get started, before we zoom in on the diagram, I'd like you to do two things. First of all, as I go through the muscles, so you can learn the muscles as we go through them, give them a little massage. See if you can find these muscles on your body as we discuss them. And the second thing is, if you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, share, comment, all those good things. And especially, if you like me, hire me as your tutor. That's why I'm making these videos on YouTube, to promote myself and my teaching skills. So, without further ado, perhaps I should demonstrate. Let's zoom in. All right, so we're gonna start with, up here we've got the face muscles, and there's a whole bunch of them. I'm not gonna get into every single one of them, other than to say there's something really interesting that happens in the forehead. When your forehead gets wrinkled, it's because you're using the muscles in your forehead. So if you want a smooth forehead, paralyze these muscles. And that's what Botox is. And in fact, people are getting Botox in also around the eyes. And feel your face muscles. You can feel you have muscles in your forehead. The frontal muscle, the temporal muscle is your temple. We call it your temple. Give that one a massage. It's nice. It helps you to relax. You can also feel your pulse beneath your temporal muscle. The orbicularis muscle is interesting because it's the fastest muscle in the body. That's why you can blink before you even realize something's coming into your eye. And you've got muscles that can make you smile. You've got muscles that can make you frown. This one here, the jaw muscle, the masseter, is really an interesting one because it's super powerful. Our jaw muscles can close with a force of roughly 90 kilograms. That's 200 pounds. So you could lift a large man with your jaw. And that's always an interesting thing. We've got our neck muscles, the sternocleidomastoids. And if it seems like that's a lot, if you break the word down, it just tells you where it's attached. So it's attached to the mastoids, the sternum, and I'm not sure where the cleidoid is. Now, without these, you can't turn around. You can't really do anything. These muscles along here are the trapezius muscles. And this is where we can get into a little bit of slang. We call these our traps, and they run along our neck here. And then we also would have our shoulder muscles that come along the side here. And these are our delts. Now definitely give those muscles a bit of a squeeze. I don't know about you, but I feel like my traps are always tight and a little bit painful. That's why it's nice to get sort of a shoulder massage there. And our actual shoulders are our deltoids here. Now, speaking of muscles that we have, these are sometimes called delts. And pretty much anything you do with your arm involves your deltoid muscles. Great athletes often have well-developed delts. And then we get into our chest muscles. If you're going to be a powerful bench presser, you're going to have powerful pecs or pectoral muscles. Those are the ones that you often see a muscle man, and he'll be like flexing the pecs, alternating, and you get that kind of bump muscle thing kind of going on. Now we have over here shown our biceps and our triceps. Biceps on the front of the arm, triceps on the back. They're called biceps and triceps because the biceps have 2 attachment points, and you can't see the triceps, but they have 3. And these muscles are interesting. Let's talk about them. They're far from the only muscles that fall into this category, but they are an agonist and an antagonist. And what does that mean? What does the agonist do? The agonist, and we're going to look down at this little diagram down here in the bottom. The biceps is the agonist. So when it flexes, the biceps contract and the triceps relax, and the muscle moves the forearm up. Then, when we want to straighten our arm, because if you think about it, if you didn't, you just pull this muscle up to this place. The triceps, meanwhile, is kind of like keeping you from pulling too fast and acts as brakes so you don't pull too far. That's what the antagonist muscle does. And then, when you want to straighten your arm, biceps relax. The antagonist antagonizes that muscle and straightens out the arm. So, agonist, antagonist. Be smart and know those muscles. The same thing happens in a lot of different places in our body, but I'll get to another one in just a sec, but let's move on down the body. Now, I always think this is kind of cool. We have our brachioradialis, that's our big muscle on the forearm, on the sort of side of the forearm. And I know it's not why it's called the forearm, but if you look here, it's like there's 4 muscles in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is not why it's called the forearm. But these 4 muscles are all attached in slightly different places up in our wrist and allow for a real range of movement through a wrist and even into our hands. So the brachioradialis. Now let's get into the hand muscles and tendons. You can see we have muscles throughout our hands. What is the difference between a muscle and a tendon? Well, a tendon is something that attaches a muscle to a bone. And all muscles have usually 2 attachment points. There's only one muscle that I know of that has 1 attachment point, and it's not shown here, and it's our tongue. Our tongue only has 1 attachment point, although technically it has 2. Because we are constantly attaching our tongue to different parts of our mouth to make sounds. So we have that free moving muscle that does all sorts of cool things. Now look at the thumb flexor and adductor. This muscle is like really big and it does something quite amazing. It allows us to take our hand and kind of move our thumb like that. Being able to do this is what makes us special. It allows us to have a fine precision grip and manipulate tools and different things like that. Which came first, our big brains or our dexterous hands? That's a question for evolution to answer and not for me. Now let's move down here, and looking here, we've got the wrist flexor. Look at that one, allows you to pull your wrist up and down like that. I hope we're feeling all the muscles as we go through. Now let's get to the stomach. On the side, we have obliques, and those obliques allow us to turn side to side. Okay, and those twisting muscles often kind of fall out of use as we get older and we lose flexibility. So that side-to-side twisting motion is actually really, really important for long-term health and flexibility. Pilates has told me this. That's not a person, that's an exercise routine. Although it's also a person, Joseph Pilates. He invented Pilates. What are the odds? Okay, let's get back to our body, and this one here, the sartorius, is the tailor's muscle. You have sartorial splendor, that means you look great. The reason why it's called the tailor muscle, it's the longest muscle in the body, but that's not why it's called that. It allows you to cross your legs. And this is how a tailor would sew, with their legs crossed. Because, you know, it was easier than doing it like right in your lap. So your sartorial muscle allows you to be, your sartorius allows you to be sartorial. Now, we also have, I skipped right past our stomach muscles, our abdominals, often shortened to abs. And you'll hear you'll hear people talking about a 6-pack, but 6-packs, I have like kind of like a 1-pack, like a keg. You could have a 4-pack, you could have a 6-pack, you could have an 8-pack. Technically, you could kind of have a 10-pack. Just something to shoot for. And, but don't starve yourself. Live your life, just be healthy and happy. Okay, then you have your thigh muscles. And these are 4 muscles that run along the front of your leg. And these are your antagonists for your leg. They're what allows you to straighten your leg out. And because there's 4 of them, they're called quadriceps or quads. Now, not shown here, but on the back side, is your hamstrings. And they allow you to flex your leg. And also our glutes, which allow us to move and flex and straighten through the hip, and also to push the leg back as well. And our glutes are our biggest muscles by volume. And they actually need to be that big because they allow us to stand upright, which is quite rare for mammals. We're really the only ones that stand like super upright. Now let's get into our calf muscles, and there's a bunch of them, but I'd like to just mention one that runs down the side of your leg on either side, and it is called the soleus. And that's sometimes called your second heart. because the contraction of these muscles pushes blood back from the lower part of your body back up to your heart. So deoxygenated blood gets pushed by these muscles here. And then we have foot muscles and tendons, ankle and foot extensors. There's, of course, the Achilles tendon, which is not a muscle. It's a tendon that attaches our calves to our feet, and it allows for explosive movement. And the last muscle I want to mention that's not shown here is the one that the Achilles tendon is attached to, the gastrocnemius, which acts sort of like a catapult. And it allows you to sort of recruit the elasticity of your Achilles tendon to really make explosive movement, so you can propel yourself forward with explosive force. And that is all of the muscles that I wanted to talk to you about today. So thanks for making it to the end of the video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and stick around for more anatomy lessons and science and math from me, Dave, potentially your tutor, but at least somebody whose videos you enjoy learning from. Thanks. Peace.